Phantom Sounds Production. What up, sound?
Hello, everybody. Smiley, hold on, y'all. Let's see those juice boxes, y'all. If you were on the show, hit that plus sign. Hola. If you were on the show, hit that plus. But let's see those juice boxes, y'all. Hit that plus sign, but right now let's see those juice boxes in the comments, y'all. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Room Talk. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Jen. The Red Room Talk is a show about love, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships, including self, to erase different social stigmas. We are here to have candid discussions and cut through the stigmas to show that in the end, no matter your background, we all have commonalities when it comes to matters of the mind and the heart. Nothing is off the table in the Red Room Talk. Last episode, if you missed us, that's okay. You can find us on YouTube by clicking that link in my profile and subscribing. Last episode, we talked about toxic masculinity versus toxic femininity, but this week we are going to discuss boundaries with tonight's topic, setting healthy boundaries. Tonight in the Red Room, we have an all-star cast. We have G-Way No Wait, Face, and Real Sister. Let's find out how the panel feels about setting healthy boundaries in relationships. Please stick around to the end, though, y'all. We are going to need the audience's help later in the show, so do not go anywhere. Before we get started, all I ask is you keep your mind open and your language clean. First things first, I'm going to let you guys in the box to introduce yourselves and let us know anything you guys have going on in the app, and then we'll get started. Go ahead and hit that plus sign.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. How's everybody doing tonight?
Face
What's
it
going
up.
on? Doing
What's
pretty
going
good.
on? Well, we are polite here in the red room, so we're gonna let the beautiful lady go ahead and introduce herself and let us know what she. I know I'm so sorry, but we are polite here, so go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you got going on here on the app.
Hello, I'm Real Sister. I don't stream much, but you can catch me on Sunday, which is tomorrow at 4 p.m. And the title is "Are You Okay? Uplifting Inspirations with St. Louis and Real Sister." I hope to see you tomorrow.
All right. My name Face. I've been here probably about 2 years now on tag. Just recently got into going streaming consistent. Um, Currently working on rebranding a clothing line. G-Way has bought a hoodie from me. Other than that, pretty chill dude. Not too much going on.
Okay.
And in case y'all don't know me, y'all can get to know me. It's G-Way No Way. I'm here every Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here with Jen and Juice on the Red Room Talk. Again, this doesn't count if you don't say Saturday. I'm here every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure y'all pull up here for you, season 2, episode 32. Make sure y'all pull up every Wednesday from Tales in the Hood, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Turn the sports block is coming through 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that same day on Wednesday. And Thursday, make sure y'all pull up for Getting Lit, the longest musical showcase show on the app. You can catch your boy right there judging, getting it in. Friday, I got my new show about to have that purple ring around it, aka feature. 9 p.m. I mean 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. G Ways Attack of the Zodiacs, the best debate show on tag. So make sure y'all pull up, hop out, show out, and I'm here to keep it real. Steven.
Well, everybody, I am the host, Jen and Juice. You can find me here every what? Every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, y'all. But if you don't find me, then you guys can find me early mornings and sometime in the evening. But other than that, please go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube. It's that little icon in my profile, and go follow me on Instagram. But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start off with playing a little clip, and then I'll go ahead and proceed.
Because I always recognize gift. Boom. The hardest thing for me to do was to set boundaries and say, no, I've been really putting energy into me. Like I do the things that it takes for me to heal. I'm talking about really soul searching with yourself, getting with yourself, sitting alone with yourself and working through them psychological traumas, emotional traumas. Amen. Because everybody faking living a facade, everybody's suffering on the inside.
Good clip. Good clip.
Any of y'all requests in the box, y'all can wait till the very end, please. This is a featured show. Um, but whether you're dealing with romantic partners, family, friends, or coworkers, maintaining healthy boundaries can help you strengthen relationships, avoid unhealthy connections, and improve your self-esteem and overall well-being. You might hear the word boundaries and imagine walls that separate you from other people. In a sense, that's true, but boundaries aren't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, they're an important ingredient in healthy, balanced relationships. They're also a crucial part of maintaining your identity, mental health, and physical well being. So, my first question is, what does boundaries mean to you, and why is it important to set boundaries in relationships?
Uh, I guess I'll go first. So I mean, boundaries are pretty much the standard you set as far as the respect level goes in your relationship. Um, because at the end of the day, like everybody has different experiences, everybody comes from different backgrounds, and respect looks different for a lot of people. Um, and it kind of eliminates or weeds out those individuals who may not be best for you when it comes to a long-term partnership. Anybody can go. I'm done.
Go ahead, D-Way. Go ahead,
Oh,
D-Way.
okay. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
go ahead, sister.
I go ahead. I was just trying to let the co-hosts, let the participants have their chance. But to me, boundaries to me is um just pretty much drawing that line in the sand in a relationship, letting it be known that you know the things you don't mind and the things you do mind. You got to have boundaries in a relationship. That to me, that's a form of respect. You should have you should definitely have communication. That way, you know what each other's boundaries are. That way, you don't cross them, you don't offend them, you don't make them feel some type of way. But definitely, at the end of the day, boundaries to me is that line in the sand where you just can't, you can't take it. You refuse to take it. Where you have a self-respect for yourself. And that's exactly what that means for me. At the end of the day.
So for me, boundaries is where people can communicate, compromise, and respect each other and talk about anything that you have a problem with and not get upset about it and never judge each other.
So boundaries is basically what I call protecting your peace. Um, this is something that I've struggled with for a long time. So, um, why is it important? Because protecting your peace means you are happier. Like, well, when you lack boundaries, you allow people to take away from you. They take away your peace. They take away your calmness. They take away, your self. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's important because if when you allow people to cross boundaries, you're not being true to yourself. And Wancho said in the comments, boundaries preserve a person's limits and creates a sense of protection, and that's true. And it sounds like it probably doesn't sound like, oh, you're protecting yourself, but you have to protect yourself and your peace at all cost. This is something that I'm even just now learning, and something that I'm working on right now. So um, I think it's also important because you're teaching people how to treat you. If you don't set boundaries and someone crosses a boundary you have, you can't really get upset because you have not put a clear definition of to what you expect. So if you don't set a boundary and they cross it, um, it's really only your fault because you haven't told someone what your boundaries are.
Facts. Definitely agree with that.
Do y'all have anything else to say?
Um, I mean, outside of pretty much everything that everybody's stated, I think that pretty much covers it. Boundaries are also, I feel like, something that helps you navigate and create intimacy also at the same time because you're getting to know a person, and sometimes when you set those boundaries, it gives you a peek into what they've been through, what type of scars they may have,
Right.
um, what type of walls you might have to break down in order to make them feel safe and secure, and yourself.
True.
That was it.
There was a question in the comments. What was your question, GS?
Me personally,
Do we
to
set
reply
boundaries
to your
before or during a relationship? I my answer is gonna say before. But you're gonna set boundaries as you go too, because you don't know
true,
sometimes that someone's crossed a boundary until they cross it. At least in my opinion.
true, but it's
But
nice
I
to lay it
definitely think
out.
you should start off that way because if you really think about it, when you get deep into a relationship and now you're creating a boundary, it feels more like you're taking something from them than setting a standard for yourself. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you start like, okay, now I'm going to set this boundary, but I've never had a boundary with you, it feels a little different. You know what I'm saying? Instead of it feeling like this is just something I have to do for me, it feels like you're taking something from the other person because they're not used to it. So now you're setting, a wall up. It feels more like to them than something for yourself. Do you get what I'm saying? Um, but if anybody who is in the box, we will give you guys a chance to ask questions later. But please stay in the comments. Go ahead and ask questions in the comments, and I'll let you. I'll talk about it as we go. But if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. We do have so much more to come, and you can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m.
Saturday.
Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Red Room Talk. We just discussed what do boundaries mean to you, and why is it important to set boundaries in relationships. But now I want to know how it affects you. Boundaries can include restrictions on physical actions, such as asking a roommate or partner not to look through your phone or not to interrupt when you're working from home. They can also be psychological, such as asking your spouse to accept that your goals and dreams might not always be the same as theirs. Without healthy boundaries, your relationships can become toxic and unsatisfying, and your well being can suffer. You might feel taken advantage of if a friend keeps asking for money, for example, or feel overwhelmed by stress if you feel the need to solve all of your partner's emotional problems, or if a parent continually invades your privacy. You'll likely feel resentful. Similarly, if you continually ignore another person's boundaries, you risk making them feel uncomfortable and damaging the relationship. So I want to know, in what ways can setting healthy boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being? When they didn't set the standard for the one before. Before we start with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and answer that question, Ty. Um, what about women setting boundaries on a new man when they didn't set the one for the standard before? Because when you know better, you do better. And that's how I'm going to answer that. When you know better, you do better. And that's how that goes. You might not have
AK,
knew that you needed that boundary until someone overstepped that boundary.
AKA
Anyway,
you learn from your mistakes. You learn from your
true,
mistakes.
true.
Absolutely.
So in what ways can setting healthy boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being?
Sister, you want to go first this time?
Well, for me, it takes the stress off of you, and um it doesn't give you like um PTSD and stuff like that. Um it just helps you to not be stressed out, and I'm done.
True.
You gotta have self confidence.
So true.
All right. So, I mean, you answer the question one more time for me, please.
In what ways can setting healthy boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being?
Um. So yeah, as far as protecting pretty much yourself, um, when it comes to setting boundaries, like I said before, like it really depends on a person's experiences. Um, and even back to what you said a little bit ago, um, boundaries change as a person grows, as they get older, because in this thing called life, we're still trying to figure ourselves out. Some of us don't have um, the example of what healthy relationships look like, whether it's as individuals or it's relationship based. And the boundaries pretty much are, like G-Way said, that line in the sand of where you say to yourself, okay, this is what will cause me not to stay up at night. This is what will cause me not to have to worry about judgment or um, being looked at a certain type of way by a partner. Um, and it alleviates the constant concern and worry and things like that, that a person is in your best interest and they're not out for self, or they're not looking to embarrass you. Um, Probably could expound on a little bit more, but kind of lost the words at the moment. But yeah, that's where that's what I got for you so far.
All right, all right. Ask the question one more time so I'll make sure I'm answering this correctly.
Okay. In what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being?
I feel like it's like I said before. It's drawing that line in the sand to where you know what not to cross. Because if you don't lay it all on the table in the beginning, they're not gonna know that they're crossing that line. I feel like it's best to get everything out in the open when you first start dating or call yourself liking someone. Let them know from the rip what you like and what you don't like. Because if they're not willing to adapt or change, at the end of the day, it's gonna drive you crazy. It really is. But it's gonna drive you crazy. But you can only have but yourself, but to blame because you didn't lay all your cards out on the table in the beginning. I'm at the age now. I'm 38 years old. I feel like if I can't come to the table with you in the beginning and let you know exactly what my cards are, then I don't need you. If I gotta hide my hand and play poker with you, I don't need you. I should be able to let you know exactly what I'm holding. Like we're in the spades game. It's not poker, it's spades. If I can't let you know exactly how many books I got in the beginning, then we can't win the game. But if we're playing poker, then we're both going to end up in a stalemate because you don't know what I got and I don't know what you got. And that's pretty much wasting each other's time, in my opinion.
Mm,
Um,
okay, healthy boundaries.
so GS, you had said something earlier, and
Yeah,
you said what categorizes healthy boundaries? What can eliminate as being subjective? Well, it is subjective just because it's your personal, because it's one's mental health and emotional well-being. So that's my emotional well-being. What works for me might not work for you. But why it could, in what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being? First of all, I know for me, if I don't set a boundary, um, and someone keeps crossing my boundaries, I am hurting myself really more than they're hurting me. Because I know there's a boundary that I've recently sent with a friend, and they keep crossing it and keep crossing it. And every time they do, and I'm trying to be nice and I'm trying not to say anything, but the more that I keep holding it in, the angrier I get. And so that's affecting my emotions. That's affecting my mental health because I'm holding it in with something they're hurting me with instead of hurting them. But you have no problem hurting my feelings. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm causing more damage to myself by allowing them to keep continually crossing my boundaries instead of hurting theirs one time, like, hey, listen, this is either got to go this way or you got to go. Like this, I can't have that. So now I'm in this place, and it sucks for a lot of people because everyone's so used to me being this kind, sweet, meek, mild, quiet person. Well, maybe not quiet, but that I don't really speak up for myself. But where I'm at now, it's almost like fighting back. Like it's time for you guys to understand that I have allowed you guys to deplete me for so long that now it's enough is enough. Now it's not just a boundary, it is a standard or you got to go. I'm protecting my peace at all costs. And it sucks because I feel like some people are like, dang, like I'm being mean or something. And it's not that I'm being mean. It's just that I have not set this boundary, or I've never really set boundaries, honestly, for people. I've let them just do what they want to do to see what they'd rather do. But what that's done is affected me because now I'm like, you know what? Y'all really don't care, do you? And I think you have to understand that not everybody is like you. For me, I think that's been my life's like greatest disappointment is that not everyone has a heart like me. So with that, people continually, like I said, just not crossing my boundaries, continually not listening. I'm like, I have to stomp, and I don't want to have to do that. Once I tell you something bothers me, and once I tell you, this is what it is, honestly, um,
That's
once
key information.
once I give you the information, what you do with that is going to tell me how much respect you have for me.
Right.
And
'Cause
if you keep continually, now you have to go. Now you have to go because I've set the boundary. I've made it clear and clear cut, plain, black and white. And then, it's got to go. You got to go if you continually do that, because now it comes down to my mental and emotional well being. So now I have to make the decision, like, I'm not going to allow you. I've set the boundary. I've put the line in the sand. And if you cross it, it's time. You know what I'm saying?
It's over. Yep.
And so that's just like, even just where I'm at, like, this topic really kind of resonates with me, because this is something I'm learning to do right now, because it's something that I've never done. So but any you have anything else to say?
I was just reading one of GS comments. It says, with all said, can boundaries be averaged between two individuals as a means of compromise? Um, I would say yes and no. Um, and the reason why I would say yes and no is because sometimes, as far as boundaries are concerned, you may have things in place depending on the development of that relationship, whether it be friendship or an intimate relationship. You may have boundaries set that a person may not break, but may make them feel uncomfortable. Like, for example, everybody's not, when they come into a relationship, isn't the greatest communicator. So you might be one of those people where it's like, I wanna, because let's say you're dealing with somebody who has anxiety. 9 times out of 10, those type of people want to make sure the people that they love and care are always safe. So they always want to know where they are. Me personally, I don't like to be clocked 24/7. So you asking me where I'm at all the time, kind of irritating. But if it brings you a sense of security, it's like, all right, I can tell you when I'm leaving the house. I can tell you when I arrive to my destination with my homies, just in case something goes left. And I ain't gonna lie, I ain't always in the best places in the world, but um, it can some boundaries on the level of the relationship can be compromised. It just depends.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I agree with that statement. I feel like the best song that really sums up what Face is really trying to say is what we need from you is understanding. As long as you can get understanding at the end of the day, I
So
mean, there's no way you can lose. You understand where I'm coming from. I understand where you coming from. And when I don't understand it, we have a problem. But definitely, that is a very big song at the end of the day that has a huge message, because understanding is definitely the key to learning, to knowing what your partner wants and doesn't want, to knowing what the line is between disrespect and respect. Because if you don't have understanding, you don't have nothing at the end of the day. You really don't.
and it could definitely come down to a compromise. First of all, this isn't a one size fits all. Let's be honest. It's not a one size fits all.
True.
Um, because I know in my relationship, that when you don't set a boundary and then you set it, and you have to come to some sort of compromise. Like, okay, look, this is what I don't like, but we can come, like, we could do this instead. You know what I'm saying? And come to like that mutual understanding, like, hey, we're talking like your family. Like, I don't like when my brother just comes over without calling first. First of all, I'm a female, I live alone. You don't want to see me in my underwear. You know what I'm saying? You don't want this, man. Okay. So, the compromise is, man, you just gonna call before you come, or hey, just ring the doorbell, give me a minute. I'm just making a broad, something, because it doesn't always have to be just what you want. Now, sometimes you might not like the boundary I'm setting, but it's detrimental to what I need from you. And if you love that person, you're going to take heed to what that person's telling you. Because I know there's often times that I might not like the boundary you're setting, but it might be detrimental to your mental health. It doesn't always
Right.
feel good because you've done something that has made this boundary have to be set.
In
We're
in
not,
order, in
go
order to
ahead.
find true love, you got to learn to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn how to get out of your comfort zone. You got to learn how to open up. You got to learn how to be loyal. You got to learn how to be trustworthy. because, like I said, understanding is everything at the end of the day to me. If you don't have understanding and then you don't know these boundaries and these lines and what your partner likes or dislikes, it's not going to last. No matter how bad you want it to, it's not going to last.
at all.
For real.
That's why so many people think because they don't want to change or compromise. And that's true. That's true, strawberry shortcake. Because I'm going to tell you one thing about myself is I have no problem compromising. I'm bendable, fluid. Like, I don't feel like there's a one way to do everything because we're all individuals. We're all different. You know what I'm saying? It was true, but. There's not a but. There's no but. There's no
Any,
but.
I was taught that anything after but is BS.
Yeah, literally.
Pretty much.
But go
Sometimes
ahead.
when you sometimes when you do try to compromise, it still don't work. So what do you do then?
Then you recalibrate. Like, hey babe, okay, this isn't working for us, obviously, because neither one of us this isn't working. So then you just come back to the table and you discuss it again. See, this is the thing about relationships, even if it wasn't a romantic relationship, we're talking about friendships, your family. This is broad. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, if something isn't working, you try something different. It's okay to recalibrate. Sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, let's try something different. That didn't work for us. So you keep trying. If you really love these people or your partner or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to go back to the table and recalibrate. Like, this wasn't working, so we're going to try something new. And if that don't work, you try something new. And if that don't work, you try something new. You know what I'm saying?
Until you have understanding.
Until you have understanding, you have to see, nah, but you have to have, it, listen, love is sacrifice. Love is sacrifice.
That's right.
Until there's a sacrifice made, love is not love. And I don't mean give up all your wildly worldly things. I'm talking about sometimes you have to sacrifice things that you might want for your partner because that is love. Do you know how many times there's things that I wanted that I gave up because I loved my partner? You know what I'm saying? And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad
Sacrifice.
thing.
You know you got real love when you have someone that's willing to sacrifice to make you happy.
I have never been one of those people that is not willing to sacrifice because I know that at some point they're going to give up something for me. And that doesn't mean that's why I do it, but I don't necessarily like bowling. But if my partner likes bowling, honey, we're going bowling, okay? I don't like it. You know what I'm
You don't like
saying?
bowling?
I don't like bowling.
I
It hurts
love
my fingers
bowling.
and I
What?
suck. I think it's really just because I suck. Like, I'm gonna gutter ball all night and then I'm gonna like throw the ball in the other lane on purpose, and I hate it. Okay,
Not
but my
accidentally on
partner
purpose.
might love it. Um, so that's just like it, and that's just something simple. But it could be something as far as like you're uncomfortable with, I don't know, dancing in public or something, but because I love you, we're gonna dance like crazy people in the middle of the
In the
wedding.
house.
You know what I mean? Or in the house, we're dancing in the kitchen because you're, shy, or it's just it could be anything. It's really it is subjective because it's an individual thing. There's certain things that I know we've all compromised something. We've all compromised or gave up something for the greater good of the other person because they felt some way about it. You know what I mean? You might not be a words of affirmation person, but your partner is. So you're going to love them in their love language, not yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also think there's a unhealthy. All that is true, but there's also the unhealthy side of compromise. I believe somebody in the comments said it. Sometimes, for the sake of love, we make compromises to the point of losing who we are.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. We don't want
And
to lose
that's
Um,
yourself in it too.
that
There's healthy boundaries, and then there's you're just giving up everything. You know what I'm saying? But that's why you create a boundary for yourself too. Like, look, I'll do this for you, but I'm gonna need this from you. Do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to set that kind of boundary. Like, look, I'm willing to do this for you, but I'm going to need you to give me a little something for me to give you a little something. It's called give and take. It's called I water you, you water me. That's how you grow.
Yep.
If not, it's a parasite host relationship. That's not love.
AKA toxic.
Because if you have to change everything about you, maybe I'm just not for you, and you can go find someone who is more like what you
Right,
want.
that part.
You know what I'm saying? Then maybe
Right.
that's it. If it goes to that point where you're compromising your entire being, then I'm just not for you. You need to find someone who fits exactly what you like, and I'll find someone who fits exactly what I like. You know what I'm saying? But there's nothing wrong with compromising on things. Because what would it hurt me to go bowling? What does it hurt me other than look like a dang fool in some ugly shoes?
But some people are better as friends than being in a relationship.
True.
You gotta realize that too. You
And
gotta
then some
realize.
people yeah shouldn't, I'm sorry if I said your name, but sometimes if you're just a not bendable person and you're unwilling to compromise, maybe relationships aren't for you, because that is love. Relationships are gonna come with compromise. Relationships are gonna come with give and take. If you are not bendable at all, I'm telling you, you'll end up alone. You're not going to fit everything the same. It's not going to always be exactly what the other person wants. That just is what it is. We are all individuals and different people. But if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. You have not missed much. We still have a lot more to discuss. You can find us here every what? Every Saturday at
Saturday.
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Red Room Talk. We just discussed what does boundaries mean to you and why is it important to set boundaries in relationships and what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being. But now I want to know a little more. Learning how to set and maintain boundaries can change many aspects of your life, ranging from work to family relations to dating. It all starts with understanding. There's that word. The difference between
Uh-huh.
healthy and unhealthy boundaries. Boundaries aren't etched in stone. You'll need to adjust them as circumstances change and relationships grow. This can be especially true in long term relationships. Communication is important as you reevaluate and revise your boundaries. See? Reevaluate and revise. You want the other person to be clear on the change and the reason behind it. Healthy relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between partners, and they take effort and compromise from both people. Both, keyword. There is no imbalance of power. Partners respect each other's independence, can make their own decisions without fear of retribution or retaliation, and share decisions. So the next question is, in your opinion, what are the signs of a healthy relationship? What sort of boundaries might you see in a healthy relationship?
Ooh. that's,
Honesty.
that's a good one.
Honesty. That's what I'm gonna say. In the healthy
Honesty,
relationship,
respect,
yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
learning
But
how to
honest,
be loyal to each other, trusting each other, talking about
yeah,
anything under the sun, like I said earlier, and not judging each other.
Yeah, that question is layered in so many different
it is.
ways. Um, just because of the simple fact that everybody comes from different different backgrounds, different experiences. People are raised very differently. Um, so like you said, like y'all said, the being open, the honest part, communication, um, all those things are definitely very necessary. Crazy. Yeah, and it's facts. Like fact is definitely experience that gives wisdom. And as far as like it's really hard. All I can say for me with the signs of healthy like relationship and compromise is just things that give me a sense of stability when it comes to my relationships with people. You know, just because for so long I've been one of those type people who just went with the flow, and suppressed how I felt because I didn't want to be a burden to other people. But now I've gotten to a place where it's like say what I want respectfully, Um, if you don't like it, I mean, you can voice your opinion. Sometimes people stick around. Sometimes people go their separate ways. But definitely keeping that open line of communication and staying true to yourself um, is what, for me, gives me a sense of peace and a healthy relationship. And as far as compromise, um, and on the flip side of that, Cindy, I'm glad you said that because sometimes people had to be willing to accept the honesty.
Yeah.
Because honesty sometimes hurts. And as much as people would like to say, yo, I would love for a person to be honest, this, that, and the third, sometimes we're not really willing to internalize it because we may be forced to change something about ourselves that may have been a part of us for our entire lives that we don't see as a problem or an issue. Um,
Another thing, if I could add what you're saying, living in denial will not help you. Living in your past will not help you because sometimes you can block yourself from getting love by living in the past and treating somebody like what you're used to. This person might be totally different from what you used to have, but at the same time, you're so in denial or so still not cleansed or done with the last person you were with that you're judging this person off the things that you know or
But see,
used to.
sometimes you don't realize that you're doing it, but you are doing it.
True.
And that's when it takes your partner to come to you and say, look, I need to set this boundary. You know what I'm saying? I need to set this boundary, and it's not to hurt you. And maybe you need to say it in that way, like, this is not to hurt you, but this is a boundary I need to set because this is something that hurt me. And it's
Yeah.
okay to allow to tell someone that they're hurting you because sometimes you don't know. And even for me, this anybody who knows me, I am one of the kindest, most genuine people you will meet. But even I hurt people sometimes and don't realize it. Even I do. There's times
Yeah.
I've had to go to someone and apologize, like, listen, I'm really sorry that I crossed that boundary. That's something that I need to work on, and I apologize. And I will, and going forward, I'll do better. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to admit that you're we're all flawed. You know, we're all flawed humans. It's okay to admit that you made a mistake. And I think a lot of people in relationships, they're so bent on who won the fight or the argument. But if somebody wins, you both lose. It's
okay.
okay to admit sometimes that you're wrong. Like, dang, I was wrong. Like, I'm sorry. This is a boundary that I know that I crossed, and move forward with it. And going to the question, the signs of a healthy relationship is compromise on both ends, I think. And someone who compliments the others. When it's not an argument, it's a discussion. It doesn't have to come down to screaming, fighting, name calling, or none of that. It doesn't have to. It sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree and move on.
Yeah.
Somebody,
Yeah, I
if
compromise
it comes
sometimes.
down to you always want to be right, that is your ego talking. It is not about the problem at that point. That is a you thing. I have many times had to admit I was wrong and I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And it's
Uh,
hard. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to admit that you're wrong, and it hurts to for someone to tell you about yourself. And I know y'all know because if you ever had someone tell you about yourself and that feeling in your chest and your stomach, like, and then you just kind of put your head down, like, because you know you did
Right.
wrong.
Make you feel real small.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep,
because you
Pri-
hurt
very
someone.
pri-
small.
Because if
pri-
you love someone, hurting them should hurt you. And if it doesn't, that's not your person. If hurting someone does not hurt you, that's not your person. Anybody who is requesting the box, y'all, please wait till the end, y'all. This is a featured show. I will take your guys' question. I'm reading them as we go. I promise I'm incorporating y'all. So just be patient. I promise I will let y'all get in the box at the end and y'all can talk all about all of this. Um, so I kind of wrote some points down. Um, some of the boundaries are like time boundaries. I might need my personal time. Like, dang, can I go drop it in the bathroom and not, you know? But that might not be your boundary. Y'all might talk to each other like, babe, I'm in this bathroom and then my stomach hurt. That might be y'all's thing. If that's y'all's thing, that's cool. But I might be not be that person. I might need my space in the bathroom, or I might like, hey, I'm gonna go for a walk. I'll call you after. And this is something even for me. I'm one of those people, especially if I'm not right next to each other. If we're not right next to each other, I'm a physical touch person. And like quality time. So for me, if I'm not like near you or I don't like it, that's a problem. It is a problem. I know that this is an issue with me. This is a me thing. This is not a nobody else thing. This is a me thing. That if I don't like know like or I don't have like I will sit here and fear like, oh my God, well, what if something happened? Or what if this or what if that, but that's an overthinking thing. That's a me thing. You know what I'm saying? So I know for me that I have to set a boundary with myself. Like you need to allow them their space, even though it sucks for you. And it sucks, you want to be around your person all day long and all those beautiful things. But for that person, if you love them, you'll allow that. And it sucks sometimes. I'm just trying. I'm sorry, y'all had to use that one, but I just have to it's a very human thing. So, it might just be that on Wednesdays I have therapy. So for that hour, I'm going to need you not to call me. And that doesn't mean you can't text me and be like, I love you, or I hope you're doing well, or whatever. But I know that in that hour that I need that time so I can get my time to get myself right. And as if that was your, that I'm going to do the same for you and give you your time, because I know that's for you. You'd have to do things that are for you sometimes. Sometimes it's okay. You can be with each other and love each other, but not, you can be one without being, overbearing. And I know myself, like, I know that I have, my own problems with that. So recognize those though. And that's where you have to get to the point where you recognize where you know that you need work. You know what I'm saying? That's a healthy part of a healthy relationship, is recognizing the things that you need to work on to be with the person that you love. And that for me has been detrimental. I was single for 9 years. I thought, baby, I'm healed. Time heals all wounds, right? This has been a long time. 9 years, okay? 9 years is a long time. And so you think like, I'm healed. I don't need therapy. I don't need none of that. But really, you don't realize you have triggers until someone hits them. You don't realize that you need a boundary until someone crosses it. So
But
you
see,
sometimes like, go ahead.
your your partner has to be your partner has to want to communicate that to you. Some people don't want to do that. They don't want to do that at
Yeah.
all. So that leaves you
Yeah.
hanging. So once you cross
Communicate.
that boundary, then it's a problem. It's a big problem. You got to communicate with that person if you want to have a healthy relationship
Yeah.
or a
Communication is
friendship
definitely
for
key.
that matter.
Either or.
And being honest with yourself, like that's a
Oh
big
yeah,
part about it. Like self evaluation and self reflection also is a
so
big,
detrimental.
Right.
is because a lot of times I got some of it. Some people are people pleasers. Um, just flat out. Like some people are people pleasers, and I used to be the same way. Like I used to be a people pleaser. Ex-wife, married for almost 10 years. We're together pretty much half our lives, and I was always about sacrificing and compromising myself to the point where at some point it was just like, yo, bro, like what are you really okay with? What what do you really, what standard do you really have set for yourself in place, so you have some type of peace, you have some type of space where you can be you. And when you're honest with yourself and you do self-reflection, you come up with those things. Like for us men, like sometimes like we need that 2 hours when we step, especially if you have a family, we need that 2 hours when we step through the door for y'all to just go away. For y'all to go away. Just leave me alone. or have my own personal space where I can unwind, I can unpack all the things that have been on my mind, whether it's bills, life, work, people, family, like, because sometimes, like, as men, when you walk through the door, especially if you're present with your family, you get bombarded with a lot. Everybody's issues, everybody's problem. This kid did this kid did that. Your lady is complaining about XYZ, and it's just like, bro. One of the big things for me was I need my own personal space and just give me 2 hours to relax. That
Yep.
way I can collect my thoughts, and when it comes to having a conversation and maybe bringing up a boundary that sets a healthy precedent in our relationship, I can articulate myself and we can find solutions and move forward.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like ego is the biggest blocker
In
of the key
relationship.
of the relationship. Because you know what I'm saying, your ego can mess up understanding. Your ego can mess up everything, to be honest with you. Because if you are stuck in your ways and do not want to change for your partner, y'all can't grow together. And at the end of the day, you're both gonna die because neither one of you is helping each other grow. You know, you got to learn how to put your ego aside, and a lot of people do not want to do that in today's
But see,
society. They do not. Go
but
ahead.
see, that's why so many people are still single today, because they've been set in their ways for 9, 10 years. They want to do it for themselves. They don't want nobody else to be there for them. They feel that they got it all straightened out. So I mean, that's why so many people are single.
True. Everybody needs help.
yes, I'm be honest with you. With the compromise 2 hours for 20 minutes, I'm not. No, give me my 2 hours. I'm sorry. That's you
Right.
talk
And I
about.
can understand that. But a person that has been by themselves for so long, they don't know how to compromise that.
Yeah, because normally
So,
it's too clingy. Clingy.
um, so there's like a few other points that there's a few other points that I wanted to talk about. So like give up being right. Invite and express diversity. Welcome differences as sources of vigor, perspective, and healthy growth of a relationship. Choose to learn from each other. Choose trust, mutual respect, and fidelity as the foundation of a lasting, loving relationship. Extend goodwill and positive intent. Do what is pleasing and satisfying to your partner. Choose to engage in caring behaviors. Be a good leader and a good follow as it sees fit. Know each other's pleasure and pain buttons. Refrain from triggering negative reactions. If you know that this is going to trigger you, don't do it. Okay. Develop a strong sense of we. This is not an I or a me. A strong sense of we. I heard this before from a very good person. Have intentional rituals, customs, styles that create a unique relationship and family identity. I know that every morning I'm going to get that call at the same time before they go do their job. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a ritual. That's something that you've created amongst yourself. I know that every Sunday we take the day off and we spend it together. I know that we eat dinner at the dinner table every night. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the type of rituals I'm talking about. Of course, it's give and take, and a relationship is not always I'm the cock of the walk and I have to be the leader of all. No, it's okay to allow your partner to lead sometimes, and then you know when to take it's balance. Relationships are about it's a balance, right? It's a balancing beam. It's a balancing act. It's like I know that I have this and this is what I'm good at and this is what you're good at. It's yin and yang. Relationships are yin and yang. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to have
Yeah.
all of one thing or all of the other. But y'all, we're running out of time here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next thing. If y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. You can find us here every Saturday. on the Red Room Talk at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know we are running over y'all, but as long as you guys don't worry about it, I'm not worried about it. We just discussed what boundaries mean to you and why it is important to set boundaries in relationships, and what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being. What are the signs of a healthy relationship, and what sort of boundaries might you see in healthy relationships? But now moving on. Boundaries are a pillar of success in any relationship. It sets the groundwork for happy relationships filled with love, trust, and respect. We all deserve to feel that way, and we shouldn't accept unhealthy boundaries no matter how much we care about that other person. We also expect to execute our boundaries flawlessly as soon as we establish them. They take time. They take time and commitment to develop. We need to practice saying no and communicating clearly. The feeling of relief that comes from setting healthy boundaries in relationships will make the effort more than worth it. Along the way, you might need some help with establishing your boundaries. So I want to know, what is a good way to go about handling a situation where someone has crossed one of your boundaries with a person you have difficulty saying no to?
Ooh.
While letting it be known. Don't don't
You
don't
have
don't
to
just
sit.
sit on it. Go ahead.
You have to
Go ahead,
sit
Riss.
and talk about it. And if that doesn't work, you do that like several times. And if that doesn't work, you just go on your merry way. If nothing changes after you have sit and you talk to them about it, whether it be a friendship or a relationship or a family member, you got to go on your separate ways. There's no more compromising in that.
Yeah.
And I will leave straight like that.
You can't
Um,
touch the wings. I just gotta say that. Look, you can't touch it. Look, teriyaki
Yeah,
and it's
yeah. Leave
all
my
black.
wings
Don't
alone.
touch my wings. If I go to my fridge, okay, and the wings is gone, you out of there, okay? That's my
yeah.
We have a problem. You done ate my wings. Straight up.
um. Oh,
But
he
nah,
just crossed my boundary. You don't get out of my box without saying goodbye. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
but
no.
but no facts. Definitely. Also, like even with the whole communication thing, like one thing I've learned, like because I used to be married, like I'm friends with a lot of married people, and one of the things I learned from a friend after my divorce and everything like that, um, that as I guess you say, man, you're responsible for the way you deliver messages. Because
Right.
you can be, even with your boundary set, you can be 100% right. And
But
this
the way
goes for anybody, it's not just a male or female thing. You can be 100% right, but the way you deliver your message can automatically put you in the wrong because in a sense you are in control of how a person receives your message. When we communicate with people, especially for those we say that we care about, if we're paying attention, we understand the words that trigger them. We
mm-hmm.
understand the ideas and the thoughts that they may perceive once we say something.
Right.
So when it comes to creating these guidelines, when it comes to creating these boundaries, we have to take into consideration who it is we're dealing with, what they've been through, so that way when we actually say what our issue is or say what the boundary we set are, that they don't hear all the words that put them in a regressive state. Like sometimes, like granted, a lot of us get into relationships and sometimes we aren't done healing, or we have wounds that we don't always recognize. For example, we'll just say a little girl. She grows up with a father who's always yelling, screaming, etc., etc. When you say things that can be triggering, it does nothing but put her in that space of being a 7 year old little girl again. And now she doesn't want to talk. She's like they pretty much go into a shell. So as a person who actually cares for someone and you want things to be understood and you want people to actually hear you, internalize what you're saying so that you can reach a commonality and a place where you guys can grow and develop a stronger bond, you have to be mindful the way you deliver a message and the words you use can either uplift your relationship or
Right.
throw something in it that sends it somewhere to the left. And
It's
now
not always what
everybody's
you say, it's how you say it.
But you can't make them feel small either.
it's two, yours is three.
Is it morning is a two and yours is a three? We really put a number to it though. I mean that's subjective too. You some like I said, sometimes you have to revisit. Um, so kind of like I love what you just said. It really was perfect because I swear to God you were telling my life story. Okay, at that point, I grew up with a father who very much yelled all the time. I I still can like I can close my eyes and I can hear his voice still to this day, and he's been gone for 10 years. But I also was in an abusive relationship, so like sometimes like things that you might not realize are triggering to me, but this is something that's a me thing. Okay. So I also have to understand that you're not me, you're not in my mind, you're not a mind reader. And that's something too. Like, and to go back to the question, a good way to go about handling a situation where someone's crossed one of your boundaries or the person you have difficulty saying no to. This is a very hard thing for me. I'm going to be honest. I'm learning this right now. I'm in therapy. I have no problem saying that. But she did, the only thing she told me is because this is something I'm going through now. Practice, practice. Practice saying things. Practice, it's okay. Practice, you know what I'm saying? Practice setting that boundary. Because for me, I've never set a boundary in my life. I won't say never, but I have to keep setting boundaries. I have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. It's hard for me. I get choked up. I'll go silent instead of telling someone because I don't want to hurt their feelings. But guess what? They wasn't worried about hurting mine. So this is something I'm currently going through. This thing I'm currently learning with myself because it is so hard for me because I don't want to hurt other people.
No facts. Like I grew up in a house full of women, and it's kind of messed up because you grow up, especially when dealing with. I guess you could say just in my household, it was okay for me to show my emotions, but as I got older and started to deal with people, it's like, oh, you saw, oh, you act like a female, this, that, and the third, and as I got older, it put me in a space at one point. It was like, yo, I'm not about to show nobody nothing. Like, you won't see me cry, you won't see me talk about an issue, you won't. I'll just shoulder the burden of being quote unquote tough. Um, and it wasn't until probably like a year ago somebody had said something to me where it was just like, it's like, yo, bro, it's okay to find a balance between both. And a person who can't receive you as who you are when it comes to being a quote unquote tough guy and the softer side of you, it's like, then they're not for you. Because we go through this a lot, especially as men. You show any type of emotion, you become a female dog. And it's just like, well, do you want me to act like a jerk all the time? Or do you want me to actually, when you have issues and you have something you want to stress to me, that I'm actually listening, that I'm actually paying attention, that I'm actually showing some type of concern, some type of love, some type of something. Um, but like it's definitely hard when it comes to saying no to certain people because it's like, yo, you want to do, especially for people you care about, you want to do everything you can for those individuals if that's the type of person you are. And unfortunately, for things to grow, sometimes, like I said before earlier, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself when it comes to dealing with people. Um, Again, used to be a real heavy people pleaser. I can't please everybody. I can't please everybody.
I can
It's
make you
just,
mad though. I can make you mad.
yeah, it's like you can't please everybody, unfortunately. Um, and it's not always gonna be everything. Sometimes you have to think about yourself. Honestly, sometimes like as a human being, you have the right to be selfish because at the end of the day, you got to protect you first. Because if you're not on your square, you're not in the space that you need to be, you ain't good for nobody. So it's like when it comes to, for me personally, when it comes to like having to tell a person no, I had to remind myself that I had to, it's pretty much a checklist for me. It's like, okay, does anything suffer from this? Do I benefit from it? Does it cause damage? And et cetera, et cetera. So me, I run through a checklist, and then depending on if there's more pros than cons, then it pretty much leads to the correct decision that needs to be made.
Right. Um, like I said, this is something I'm currently working on, and it's so funny because the first thing she said to me is, she's like, "You're a people pleaser, aren't you?" Yeah, I hate you right now. I hate your guts. Okay, because yes, my whole freaking life. Okay, I always worried about hurting people's feelings, but like I said, they were never worried about hurting mine. So that's just something that I'm working on even now. It's hard for me to say no to people. But if y'all are just pulling up, you're late. You haven't missed everything. We still have a little bit more to discuss. I'm sorry. I know we're running over a little bit, y'all. But you can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, y'all. Make sure you guys hit that circle with a star up top. Don't be afraid to tip the host and the guest. Um, we just discussed what do boundaries mean to you and why it's important to set boundaries in relationships, and what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being. What are the signs of a healthy relationship? What is a good way to go about handling a situation where someone has crossed one of your boundaries with a person you have difficulty saying no to? But now I want to talk about you personally. Even if you've been in a relationship for an extended period of time, it is a good idea to revisit your boundaries. They may have changed, or you may now have a better understanding of what you find acceptable or not. Although it can be difficult and uncomfortable conversation, it will likely bring you and your partner closer together. We believe that boundary conversations are also beautiful. You and your partner are creating the rules of your relationship together. The creation of your relationship guidelines isn't as glamorous as a first kiss, but I think it's far more important. And it may take multiple conversations, but it will be worth it. See how it all kind of flows together, everything we've been talking about tonight. Difficult conversations like these are the ones that are the most fruitful and impactful in a relationship. So the next question is, in some relationships, healthy boundaries seem to form naturally and easily. In other relationships, however, setting healthy boundaries is difficult. Tell me about a time that you personally had a challenge you faced when trying to set a healthy boundary, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh. Um, I like to date myself. I like to date myself. Um, and I was dealing with a young lady who last time she was in a relationship, a person would say they were going out by themselves and wasn't really going out by themselves. So um, once this information became privy to me, um, it was a conversation that was had. Um, and that's when I got into, that's when I learned the whole just communicating where you are because of what a person may have been through. It may not alleviate the stress entirely, but it may make them feel a little safer. Now, it sucks for you as a person if you have a crazy one who will just pop up to make sure you're doing what you're doing. But if you don't, then, um, but yeah, that's one of the things I definitely had to deal with because I like to go out by myself, whether it's to movies, to grab something to eat, or get a drink at a bar. I'm a lone wolf. And sometimes for some females, I'm not gonna say all, that can be a little red flaggish. So communicating my whereabouts at times was definitely a way I overcame that.
Real sister?
Oh, okay. I was in a relationship with one of an ex that I had, and All I wanted to do was just spend a little time with him. And I'm a loner, so it's okay for me to be by myself. But when it was that time to spend it with him, he was like, "Yeah, okay, we can do that." Now, mind you, we already had a toxic relationship because he lied to me at first, and I still was there with him. My mom always said every new broom sweeps good. So what happened was every time I wanted to spend time with him, always had something else to do. He always, when we did spend time, he always wanted his friends there. Why we just can't spend time alone with nobody? So that went on. I let it go on for like a while, so I thought he would change, and he never changed. So I left that situation. I had to get my inner peace together because it was just toxic. So I left it alone. There was no compromise, no trying to make it healthy, no nothing. So
Um, so this is pretty kind of recent. But I have a roommate. Sorry to her if she's here in the background. But she don't know how to clean up very well, and I'm a very clean and tidy person. And so that's something that really bothers me, especially like I just had surgery, so it's very hard for me to do things. And so setting that boundary was like, hey, I'm gonna need you to clean up after yourself. Now, whether or not they listen is a different story, okay? But that's something that I have had difficulty in, and it took me to text them. I couldn't just tell them in person because I have such a hard time with confrontation. I'm a shutdowner. I'm not a confronter. And it's just because of past relationships. My how my father was, my ex-husband was like, those abusive relationships really make me shut down. He said, put her in the box. But stuff like that. It's not even just her, but it's things like that. I have a difficulty telling people what they're doing that's hurting me, but they have no difficulty hurting me. So I have to get out of that. So it takes me having to practice doing it. The more I do it, the easier it'll be. And it's so hard because I'm telling you, I get this an anxiety. I'm like, oh, I don't want to say anything, and I'll let it keep piling on and piling it on and piling on. But you don't want me to that to happen, because then I'm going to turn into an ugly green-eyed monster, and you're not going to like it, and I'm going to cuss at you, and I don't want to do that. I want to be the nice, kind person that I am. Why don't bring me out of who I am? You know what I'm saying? But if y'all are just pulling up, you're definitely late. It's almost over. Don't fret. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Red Room Talk. We are at my favorite part of the night, y'all. Oh, why am I not hearing it? About to say, okay. Okay. We just discussed what does boundaries mean to you and why is it important, and what ways can setting boundaries protect one's mental and emotional well-being. What are the signs of a healthy relationship? What sort of boundaries might you see in a healthy relationship? Lastly, tell me about a time you personally had challenge that faced trying to set a healthy boundary, and how did you overcome them? When you hear that sound, it means we are at our hot seat question segment. We are doing things a little different this season. Our hot seat question is now left up to the fate of the audience. Ooh. I went to Instagram to ask our peers what they wanted to ask for this week's hot seat question. If you want your question to be featured on next week's episode, make sure you go to my profile, click the icon, and follow me on Instagram, and look out for the hot seat question post. Now is the time to enter in the comments who on the panel you want to answer tonight's question before I reveal it. Go ahead and enter in the comments now.
That's great.
They didn't let me finish. They're like, face. Go ahead and enter in the comments now.
Dang, I go crazy.
Flats. Extra wet. Face. All right, it's looking like face. Okay, face. This week I wrote in, okay, and asked a question because y'all don't really be writing in. No, I'm just kidding. I used one of y'all's question for the regular question. So I wrote in, what is that boundary that you want to set but you have not been able to yet? What is a boundary that you want to set but you have been unable to yet?
What is a boundary that I want to set that I haven't been able to set yet?
Ooh, I like that, GS. Send that to me in the inbox. I'm gonna use it for something else.
Tell you the truth, at the present moment, I don't have one. Like, for anybody who has been to my live and know me, like, I'm in a relationship with Miss Didi. And everything I've wanted pretty much from my experience in my marriage and everything like that, I pretty much get. I'm given the space to be a man. Sometimes so much that it's annoying. Like, ironically. Um, hmm. I guess you could say the only thing at this present moment would probably be the space thing. But even with the space thing, it's a long distance relationship between us because I live in Philly, she lives in VA, and I mean we spend what time we can together, but I get all the space in the world because we may not see each other for a week or two. So it's like yeah, at the present moment I don't have any that I would set that needs to be set. I would say in the past, um, it was for my voice to be heard because I don't necessarily subscribe to the alpha beta thing. That's a deeper conversation in itself. But as an individual, as a man, sometimes you just want to have a safe space to be heard. Um, and sometimes when having this safe space, I want to be able to get everything out without it being analyzed because in certain situations I realize in females trying to make sense of things, trying to help, especially men, a lot of the times what we're saying is picked apart piece by piece before we can even finish articulating our whole point. Um, which kind of puts us in that space where it's like, "Ah, I don't really want to talk now." So a boundary for me, I guess you could say that I haven't set that I want to set is when it comes to me expressing myself, putting my feelings out on the table, just give me a minute to let it all out. Because if not, then I'll withdraw and we can revisit this conversation a little bit later. So that'll probably be a boundary. Um, I guess you could say I would set at the present moment.
See, but what if you have a person who needs that connection in that moment that where you're like, okay, you hang up, like I'm hanging up. I can't talk to you right now, but then you have a person who needs that connection. So that's like going to have to be what we talked about earlier, that compromise. Like, okay, I know that you need this, but I know that I need that. So you might just have to sit in your uncomfortableness and let me
Listen,
have his time. You know
listen.
what I'm saying? It
This is
sucks.
100% fact. Didi probably in the comment section or whatever. There's been times where we've had arguments, and literally I will sit on the phone mad just because her being on the phone with me makes her feel better. Be mad as listen. I'll be ready to throw. I'll be ready to throw stuff. Break. I've gotten a lot better with my attitude over the years, but um, yeah, I have no problem
Compromising.
making compromise.
But
Mhm. Oh god. But yeah, I don't have an issue with compromising because at the end of the day, like, and this is what people fail to realize nowadays in relationships, um, their work, their work, more work than full time jobs because at every moment of the day, whatever life experiences you deal with, you bring into your relationship. Those life experiences, those day-to-day experiences, they help cultivate the type of direction you want to take as far as your relationship is concerned. It makes you think about how you want to tackle issues. It, especially with the way things are nowadays, it's like finances is a big thing. Like it's so many things that we go through on a day-to-day basis that we should be taking into consideration when it comes to our relationships, because it helps the development of leadership, of understanding, of compromise, of being able to communicate. Um,
Yeah.
yes, in fact, compromise is best relies on patience, because sometimes you don't get things right away. Like as much as the person can deliver a message the most polite way in the world, but sometimes
How you receive
it
it.
yeah, sometimes how you receive it, and sometimes it just takes time, because sometimes you may have to ask a person to make a compromise, and the compromise may be something that's completely left field for them,
It could be
and
crossing one of their boundaries, even.
crossing their boundaries, and it just may be something that is a challenge for them. Like for example, like just to, I know I'm getting lengthy, but
No.
um, growing up, we didn't talk about our issues in my household. Everybody went to their rooms. So for me, growing up, it was just like, all right, because we're whatever. But
Oh,
um, yeah, that's all I got. So I
All
can
right.
go on, go
Well,
off
if
all
y'all are
day.
just pulling up, this has been the Red Room Talk, y'all. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is almost over. Tonight's topic was setting healthy boundaries. You're definitely late, but don't fret. You guys can find us every week on YouTube, which you can find by clicking the icon in my profile and subscribing. Every week we come to this place of healing, and I end with a quote. So I'm going to go ahead and end with the quote, and then you guys can go ahead and let us know what y'all got going on in the app, and I'll go ahead and give G-Way his really lengthy, I don't even know if I remember all his stuff, because I don't think I remember none of it. I'm sorry, G-Way, if you're not here, buddy. But you have a lot of freaking shows. So this week's quote is daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Breen Brown. That resonates so much with me because I get so worried about disappointing others. I let people cross my boundaries all the time because I fail to set them because I'm afraid to hurt y'all's feelings. That one just, when I read that, I was like, ooh, that's a piece of candy. I needed it. But y'all, this has been the Red Room Talk. I'm gonna go ahead and let Real Sister go first because we are polite here in the Red Room. Go ahead and let us know what you got going on about your show, Miss GQ, Real Sister, and let us know what you got going on with your show, and then we'll go on to Face.
I am real sister. I don't stream that much, but I do stream, so catch me if you can. But I will start streaming a lot more often. On Sundays, we have a show. It's called "Are You Okay?" Uplifting inspirations with St. Louis and Real Sister. I would like for y'all to come on out tomorrow at 4 p.m. and vibe out with us.
Uh-huh. As you know, my
Thank you,
name's
Jen, for
Face.
having me on the show.
It's your boy Face here, sarcastic young king. Um, I go live. I try to go live at 10 in the morning. Um, and in my lives, definitely have a lot of deep discussions. Because my mind is like, oh, like I don't know. I'm just all constantly thinking. Um, and I really like to dive into things. You can normally catch me early in the morning around like 10ish, 9, 10ish. Other than that, I do custom hoodies, custom t-shirts, um, anything you want, I could do it. And that's it. Appreciate you, Jen. As
Of
always,
course.
you know.
I think this is your second time. I always
Yeah,
love having you on. You always bring greatness to the conversation. I definitely want you back on again, real sister, y'all. But this was the Red Room Talk. G-Way has a whole lot of stuff going on every day. So can y'all please just hit that second bubble, I think, and go to his Instagram because I know he has Monday he has Hood Feud at 9 p.m. Wednesday he has Sports Talk with Wancho Number, Deuce, and Moby at 9 p.m. also, I believe. Thursdays he's on Getting Lit at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with King of Diamonds. I'm also a host. Friday, he has G-Way's Attack of the Zodiac at 10 p.m. And every Saturday, he's here, y'all. I think he's got something on Sunday. I can't remember. Okay, I'm sorry. But I am Jen and Juice. I am the host of the Red Room Talk. You can find me here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, y'all. But if not, you can find me early mornings and sometimes in the evening. So y'all just tap in with me. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set a schedule. I'm gonna put that in my bio and all that later. I'm still trying to find that myself. I'm still healing from surgery, so I'm trying to find where my balance is between y'all and this. I'm setting my boundaries with y'all. Okay, I used to be on here 16 hours a day, but we are setting a boundary here, and I'm gonna have a healthy boundary by giving y'all when I'm gonna be on here and when I'm not. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this song, and then we'll end out the video, y'all. Get up in there!
What up, sound? Quantum Sounds Production. What up, sound?